Happy post-Christmas, everybody. Rick with Rick's Toy Room. So, told you that possibly the next video you're going to see a Killer Instinct. There's a Killer Instinct. I found out that the guy selling it, I actually bought some machines from years ago when I first moved to Florida. So, funny enough, he's like, bro, you've bought from me before. I was like, oh, shit. So, he actually lives right down the road from this house now. So, it's really nice. So, it only took me like an hour. Well, it took us. Dusty helped. Well, Dusty got voluntold. I asked him to come help me go move the motherfucker, and he's like, what? And I was like, just get in the truck. So we ended up going to picking up a U-Haul van, drove over down to Lutz, met with Dennis, picked up the KIs, talked about a couple other machines that he had for sale. He sold me the J-Pack he had in here. He does not have a working board for it. Otherwise, this machine would have cost me a lot more money than it did. Between the truck, the J-Pack, the machine, I think I'm in for like $650 right now. But I was able to completely get the Raspberry Pi to load a version of MAME that runs Killer Instinct flawlessly. So I actually have a 46-inch TV sitting on the side of that right now, connected to the Pi 5, configured, tested, everything's working. I actually configured... I'm going to temporarily make this a MAME cabinet. So it's going to run Killer Instinct 1, Killer Instinct 2, like 5 versions of Street Fighter, Super Street Fighter Alpha, or Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers, Street Fighter Alpha 2, Street Fighter... I put like 5 versions of Street Fighter on there. Then I did the... X-Men Children of the Atom, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, KI1, KI2, all the X-Men Street Fighters, and then I threw some other old random cool games I used to like to play. So G.I. Joe, Superman, Final Fight, Alien vs. Predator, a lot of the CPS2 games. So Alien vs. Predator, Punisher, Final Fight, like all those good style beat 'em ups, I threw those on there too. So ideally, what I originally configured this to do was take out the splash screens, just show the Raspberry Pi code when it boots, go right into RetroPie, drop into Killer Instinct, and be done. The problem is, the way the configuration's working is if I add in the fallback, so I want to exit Killer Instinct and I want to go play Killer Instinct 2 or any of the other games, it won't drop back into the emulation menu. That's a bit of a problem because it takes so long for it to load up the hard drive, and granted it's all run off SD card, but it still takes so long for that ROM to load. It defaults back to the emulation mode and then it just crashes. So I'm going to just cold boot this straight to the emulator, play the different emulators for now. I still haven't wired up all the controls. Actually, like 90% of the controls aren't working right now. Primarily because I can't get video out from the Pi 5 to the VGA monitor. So, the J-Pack card is a specially designed version of the iPack that connects to JAMA harnesses. It's got a JAMA edge connector, and then it's wired to do all the things for the JAMA, so you could run an arcade from a Raspberry Pi or a computer or whatever. The problem is, apparently, the architecture on the Raspberry 5 changed where it doesn't natively allow you to drop to a 240 resolution and hook this directly to a VGA card with the adapter. So I spent like $40 on adapters, couldn't get any of them to work, to find out the Raspberry Pi doesn't default VGA. So I had to order a Raspberry Pi hat for a VGA conversion to run out of the GIO pins to then connect to the VGA cable, then to the monitor. So got a delay on getting this one running. Amazon's going to have the header and the other cable to me on Sunday. So and I just got the notification it's going to deliver Sunday. So I'm a couple days out from having Killer Instinct working. Luckily, with the Pi fully configured, tested, ROMs are set. Reality is I just have to... I got to hook up the J-Pack. I need to run all the wires for the kick harness, and I need to figure out which buttons do those kick harness. Luckily, MAME allows you to configure each individual ROM configuration. So ideally, what I'm going to do is I will hook up the JPack, make sure the video's working. That will give me the top 3 buttons, start, coin, etc. I'll get into the game. Once I got the game loaded, then I'll reconfigure the entire MAME to basically run off the control panel and the test switches. So the idea is going to be that you'll open up the coin door, hit the test switch, drop you out of the game you're in. That way you can go pick the different games and then play. 99.9% of the time, I'm going to have this thing sitting strictly at Killer Instinct because that's the whole point. I'll play a bunch of the other ones just because I'm a huge fan of the CPS2 fighters. But temporarily, it will run a bunch of MAME games. If I get bored of the MAME games, or if I just, once I have it fully configured, decide I want it to be an independently, strictly Killer Instinct, I will emulate it, directly boot to Killer Instinct. And then once that's done, maybe I sell it. Maybe I find me a Killer Instinct board, put a real board in here, rip the Pi out, hook the Pi up to the big screen, and then, play arcade games on the big screen while I, have this back to original. I don't know yet. That's a future me problem. As Dusty likes to say, that's a future Rick problem, and that's going to be a future Rick problem for what I do with this cabinet. For now, it'll be emulated. Honestly, the Pi 5 runs the emulation so smooth, you would not know the difference that it's not original hardware. So, I can't wait to get that going. Like I said, that's going to be Sunday, so we'll do a new video Sunday once I get it configured. It has been a pain in the neck doing all the configuration, especially because the Pi 5 has a micro HDMI, doesn't have native VGA out. Like, there's so many problems where I can't just hook it up to, put it on my desk, hook it up to the computer, use a keyboard and mouse. I got to hook it up to a TV, run a keyboard and mice. It's a pain in my ass. But it's going to be done. So, NBA Jam. I don't know, did I talk about that yet? No, we went straight to KI. NBA Jam has the official boards in it. It has the official kick harnesses in. I just got done wiring the kick harness. Player 1 through 4 completely works now. The coin doors all work. Everything's functionally NBA Jam. The guy that owes me the header graphic and the CPO have not shipped yet. The guy that owns the header graphic has not shipped yet from eBay. The guy that is doing the CPO, the board, and the side also hasn't shipped. So it's going to be somewhere into the new year before this cabinet gets all the graphics redone. The monitor's still a little bit dim. I need to find somebody that can do a monitor. I found out that Arcade Jim passed away a couple years ago, so it's not like I can have him work on the monitors now. So I got to find somebody that maybe can do a rejuve locally that will come out, rejuve it. Theoretically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to convince Dusty to help me get this beast of a monitor out of this motherfucker. We're going to take the bolts out, we'll strip the sides, we'll actually patch this motherfucker, and we'll make this a full rebuild. So we're going to need some tools, some sanding equipment, yada, yada, yada. But, again, future me problem once I get all the graphics in. The header and the CPO will be the easiest things to replace, so those will be the very first 2 things I redo. The control box actually will be really simple. So mine is just taking out all the, taking the buttons out, undoing the 3 bolts, ripping these graphics off, sanding it, putting the new graphics back in. This will be a quick change. This is a quick change. Header's a quick change. The sides are going to be a pain in the balls. I either have to patch this bitch on the fly and just deal with the 2 bolts being bubbly, or I rip out the monitor and then just completely take this thing out in the garage, sand it, paint it, and do all the things. I haven't decided which yet. So, I don't know. More to come. But Sunday, we will talk about what's going on with Killer Instinct. Like I said, the idea Sunday will be a hook up the header, hook up the VGA cable, update some configuration, see if I can get the monitor to at least display, and then I'll work on wiring all the buttons and figuring out how they work. The 3 buttons are going to be different. The kick buttons are different for each of the different games. So once I configure it for one, I'm going to have to go into each individual ROM and configure those. So for KI2, KI1, Street Fighter, blah, 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 I'm going to have to go in and do all of those. So it's going to be a couple hours worth of trial and error of just loading every ROM, dropping into the configuration menu. I'm going to have to wire some extra buttons to the JPack and then configure them. Because I'm using a Raspberry Pi, using MAME, and using the JPack, essentially what happens is I need buttons to get into like the test menu. I need buttons to exit the game. So I've got a couple micro switches laying around. I might 3D print a quick housing that I can just put the buttons in, mount them to the side of the cabinet. That way I can just open the cabinet, hit the buttons. I haven't decided yet. I'll I'll figure all that out once I get this thing booting the screen. Now, if I cannot get the screen to work with the next VGA header, my next option will be to overnight one of the older Raspberry Pis and then attempt to get that to work. Hopefully, the Pi 4 can run KI. I know Pi 3 can't. Pi 3 just chokes. It just doesn't have the power. If I cannot get the VGA to work with the Pi 5, I will downgrade to a Pi 4, try to emulate it there, and then use all the other parts that I have laying around the house now and just try to make it work. So we'll see what happens. All right, guys. It's been fun. Again, hopefully everyone had a great Christmas. I've already taken all my decorations down. I wasn't in the mood for Christmas this year, to be honest. I got some cool gifts. I got some really cool stuff, and I bought myself a bunch of cool stuff. So, like, as a gift holiday, this year was super successful. As a mood holiday, not feeling it. So, Christmas tree's packed away. The living room looks like nothing ever happened. So, 364 more days till Christmas. Maybe next year will be better. Anyhow, hope you all had a great holiday. Be safe for New Year's. Sunday we'll be back to work on KI, and then we'll take it from there. All right, guys.